We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the warehouse.
Welcome to Active Shooter, a podcast that covers the whys, the hows, and the aftermath of active shooter and mass casualty events.
They have an active shooter in the building. A second call says they are being attacked.
I've been shot. 1692 means we got shots fired. 4:15 ASF. Route 291 sounded like an automatic firearm.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter,
mass casualty incidents.
Thank you for listening.
You are listening to Active Shooter, a podcast that may contain adult themes, explicit language, and graphic depictions of violence. Portions of this show may be traumatic for those under 18. Listener discretion is advised.
Tonight, it is Virginia Beach. We're coming to you with the worst kind of breaking news imaginable. Tonight, our hearts go out to Virginia Beach, Virginia, where police say a city employee opened fire in a municipal building and took at least 11 lives before police took his. 6 more people are in the hospital. The city, needless to say, is in shock. And this is all unfolding moment by moment in the words and images we all think we are so familiar with until it happens where we live. And it is happening where we live. Tonight, it is Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach is a beautiful coastal town, and the Princess Anne neighborhood is no different. It is an affluent area with stately-looking homes and golf courses nearly surrounding it. It's the kind of place you could look at and think nothing bad could ever happen there. However, May 31st, 2019, would prove that no matter how pretty the picture, terrible things can still happen. May 31st started as a warm day, but it was cloudy, with the occasional thunderstorm. There was another storm brewing at the Virginia Beach Municipal Center too, but it wasn't a rainstorm. Building 2 was about to become the epicenter of a tragic story that would result in an immense loss of life, leaving in its wake anger, sadness, but also the will to survive. The shooting that happened on that horrible day resulted in the death of 12 innocent people, 4 additional injured, and an immeasurable amount of grief and distrust. Active Shooter the podcast is a High Five Holly production, and I'm your host, JT. If you've listened to our prior episodes, you know that the Active Shooter podcast team has taken the No Notoriety pledge, and we will not be sharing the real name of the shooters that we cover. We will be giving the shooters a pseudonym and refer to them by that name throughout the episode. This will help in clearing up any confusion in the story, while remaining true to our pledge and not naming the shooter by their actual name. In today's episode, we will be referring to the shooter as Evan. Evan was a Virginia Beach municipal employee, working for the Public Utility Department. He arrived at work on May 31st at 7:21 a.m. and swiped his badge to enter the building. By 7:23, Evan was in his office, checking email. Around 10 to 10:30, he started conducting internet searches to look at maps of the building. At 10:31, Evan sent an email to his supervisor, submitting his resignation from work. He stated he was quitting because of personal reasons, and his last day was set to be June 14th. A mere 15 minutes later, his boss responded, wishing him luck. Continuing his day as if nothing were amiss, he sent the usual emails. Despite his calm demeanor, Evan came prepared to do a ton of damage. He brought a Glock 21 .45 caliber pistol and an H&K USP compact tactical .45 caliber pistol equipped with suppressor. A little after 1 p.m., Evan and 2 co-workers left to travel to 3 separate project sites to conduct inspections. They returned to the Municipal building, and at approximately 3:57 p.m., he was brushing his teeth in the bathroom on the 2nd floor of the building, which is something he did every single day. Evan left the building, presumably to get his firearms, and he walked to another entrance. As he did so, he shot a contractor that was sitting in their car in the Municipal building's parking lot. He walked back towards the building, where he encountered another person who was on the steps of the building. Evan shot them, point blank, without displaying any emotion whatsoever. Minutes later, he entered the south entrance of Building 2, and the first sounds of gunfire could be heard. Renovations were happening nearby, which caused confusion. Some of the city employees thought the noise was a nail gun or another tool. The reality was there was a gunman on the loose, intent on causing mayhem.
You don't think it's ever going to happen to you. Basically, it was like, this is not a drill, get down, call 911. And that's when I called 911, and we all just ran in her office and closed the door.
The first of several 911 calls was placed at 4:06 p.m. Some of the 911 callers were difficult to hear because of the gunfire, or even because they were being shot. 2 minutes later, Evan swiped his badge to enter the 2nd floor west side of Building 2. Yet, another 2 minutes later, police responded to the building, including officers, the K-9 unit, and plainclothes detectives. The police response was slow because of the electronic security doors which need a badge to open.
We need access keys. The doors are locked. We need access keys. I know I've got citizens in one area, the 2nd floor, I can't evacuate.
Someone pulled a fire alarm in the building at 4:11 p.m. Evan continued roaming the building and shooting. At 4:21, police dispatch called out to officers that there was still an active shooter on the 2nd floor, while simultaneously an email was sent to all city employees alerting them of the shooter. Shelter in place was ordered. Employees received these emails at 4:22 p.m. There were witnesses to the event that watched in horror as Evan passed some offices, allowing certain employees to escape, and others he brutally murdered.
Still actively hearing gunshots.
Do we have any idea what the shooter's at? I'm going in. All units. He's on the 2nd floor.
Shooter on 2nd floor. Detectives coming through the garage, Sally Port. Shots fired, 2nd floor.
He's going up the steps.
Some of the victims were total strangers to Evan, but others were people he knew. But because he thought those people had somehow wronged him, he made the choice that they would die. There was nearly no communication between Evan and his victims as he ruthlessly stalked the building, picking victims and shooting. Some begged for their lives, begged Evan to stop, and to please let them go. But he was emotionless throughout his shooting rampage.
We all started running towards the south exit, towards the south stairwell, and somebody screamed in front of us, "It's too late, run the other way." We locked the door and barricaded it. We pushed a metal filing cabinet against the door, and no sooner than we had that done, was at the office door that we were in, and he fired 4 times. 2 of the bullets almost came through the back of the cabinet and left bulges and chipped paint from where they were trying to penetrate through. And we all fell to the ground.
He took the lives of innocent people without a second thought or regard to anything besides his own selfish beliefs. 4 minutes later, the SWAT team entered the building to begin their search for the shooter that remained unidentified at this point. As police located Evan, gunfire was immediately exchanged. There was a nearly 3-minute gun battle that happened between the police and Evan, mostly all through a closed wooden door. During this exchange, Evan was shot, although he was still alive when taken into custody at 4:43 p.m.
When the original call came out, immediately 4 officers responded. They immediately engaged with the suspect, and I can tell you that it was a long gun battle between those 4 officers and that suspect.
The shooting had finally ended. The entire event lasted around 36 to 40 minutes, but it must have felt like 40 years for the survivors. The Princess Anne Middle School was set up as a family reunification center. At 5:32 p.m., Evan was pronounced dead at the Virginia Beach General Hospital. His backpack and additional firearms were found on the second floor, and his car was in the parking lot by the south entrance of Building 2. The guns they found were 2 semi-auto pistols, a suppressor, and many extended magazines. A later search showed that all of the firearms were legally purchased within 3 years. The city employees were permitted to leave the reunification center at 5:55 p.m.
A coworker and myself were in the lobby of the first floor, and we heard a popping sound. The coworker turned and said, "Did someone fall?" And he said, "Yeah." We ran to the staircase, and there was a lady on the bottom of the stairs covered in blood. Another coworker ran upstairs, and was totally, there was an active shooter upstairs on the second floor, so and got my cell phone at the building, and the fire alarm went off, and that's when we found out there was a former worker who was upset. I thought it was a disgruntled citizen or something, upset about his tax bill or his water bill or something like that. I never thought it'd be an employee that you talk to daily. Well, I just skedoodled away like I was supposed to, especially when she came down and she said, there's an active shooter, get out of the building. Like I said, we walked out another door because we didn't know where he was. But this lady was shot in the stairwell, so we had to figure he was probably close by. Just went out another door of the building. Heard a popping sound, a couple of popping sounds. It was a loud noise. It was definitely a gunshot, though. Well, upstairs, a lot of people they pushed the desk down to keep the guy from coming in. Some of the employees on the first floor, they went to offices that were open and locked themselves in there. So their initial reaction was hide behind the door, which they should have been leave the building. When I heard that there was an active shooter, I went to a phone to try to dial 911 and try to get the sheriff who was using Building 1. But by the time I did that, I just grabbed my phone. That's when the fire alarm went off. You just can't make an announcement saying there's a shooter in the building. Put a fire alarm, everybody leave. So it was scary. It was scary. When we walked, well, we never knew if it was over because there was constant movement. When they walked us over to the courthouse, they took our names and addresses and statements, and we were allowed to go. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to walk anywhere in that building and not realize something's happened. A stairway, a hallway where the shootout took place, and officers used to visit. I guess it's just now settled in, but I don't think you ever recover from that.
In total, 12 people were killed. 11 were city employees, and 1 was a building contractor that only happened to be at the building to purchase a permit. 4 others were injured, but 3 of those were in critical condition. A police officer was shot in his bulletproof vest, but thankfully, he lived.
You have an officer shot in the stomach at the post office? We're on the main road across the street from the post office. We dragged him out. Looks like the bullet vest stopped most of it, but he still got a shot to the chest, stomach area.
We had 5 people show up at our door. 2 died. One was declared dead on arrival. The second one died very, very shortly thereafter. So we have 3 people who are injured in the hospital right now.
This is what we train for. I mean, this is why we chose to go into these professions. But when it's actually happening in the scale that it's happening, it becomes surreal. And you have to just focus, compartmentalize, attend to what's going on at that moment. Controlled chaos. Staff everywhere. A number of folks in different roles, attending to their roles. And a few people in the middle kind of directing traffic. You go here, I need this, I need that. We mobilized resources from different areas of the hospital. We gathered equipment from other areas of the hospital to make sure we had several rooms set up in a row in order to receive the patients that we received.